Welcome to Beyond the Nebula, where humanity doesn't just survive, we rewrite the stars. These original HFY stories explore what happens when humans show the galaxy what we're truly made of. The screen on USS Providence flickered red as alarms blared. Battle stations. Commander Harris barked, boots thumping on the deck. Above, the glow of Earth's orbit was swallowed whole by an endless swarm of alien skiffs. Sleek, shadow-like ships that crested 10,000 and still falling. "Status!" Jack snapped to the tactical officer, Lieutenant Carlos Reed, gripping the console. "They're firing plasma arcs, full tech saturation," Carlos said. "Outer defense grid just took a hit, down by 50% in minutes." Jack clenched his jaw. "Formation Delta, get those interceptors launched. I don't care if we scorch atmosphere, fire at anything that moves." The hangar doors hissed. Fighter bays lit up. Pilots vaulted into cockpits, engines igniting. "Sir, Sensor Tech Lieutenant Grace Chen whispered, voice tight. "They're inbound on orbital colonies. Titan, Ganymede." "Damn it!" Jack ran a hand through his hair. "Prepare evacuation protocols for civilian stations." Someone punched in a comm. "Commander Harris, heavy-frame drop pods hitting geosat rings," came the voice of Chief Marshal Denise Ruiz. "They're bypassing shields." Jack's face hardened. "Then we intercept at the bay. No goddamn surrender." Outside the viewport, flashes bloomed as Earth's orbital cannons opened fire, blast thrown back in purple arcs, swallowed by skiffs like children ignore raindrops. "Launch all frigates, all drone wings, create a screen," Jack ordered, voice fierce. "They want war? We'll give it one hell of an answer." Seconds later, MCP-7, the lead drone carrier, primed a blade beam cannon. Jack guided it with surgical precision, wiping out a wave in 3 shots. "Direct hit," Grace called. Skiffs vaporized. Jack allowed himself the tiniest nod of approval. They fought back, not surrendering. 2 hours passed in a brutal ballet. Skiffs hit, swarmed, retaliated. Shields screamed, hulls groaned. Losses stacked up on both sides. Then came the first counterstrike. A heavier silhouette moved through the haze. A Vanakar Seraph-class dreadnought, twin gravlances rippling purple arcs. It tuned its weapon. Quiet descended, the cannon discharged. A single beam. It tore through Providence like a wave crashing through sand, hollowing her out. Jack didn't have time to flinch. Brace for impact. All at once, everything shook. Bulkheads groaned. Klaxons mercilessly roared. Providence went dark. Emergency lights flickered. "Carbon integrity holding barely," Jack said, voice steady despite the white-hot panic in his gut. "Damage control team, get to Sector 4. Carlos kept his hand on life-critical readings. "We're venting. Hull breach near aft hangar." "Evac shuttle readiness. 30 seconds. Jack turned away from gauges and toward the viewport. They came like shadows, but Earth wouldn't blink quietly. He keyed the PA, voice thundering across the deck. "This is Commander Harris," he said. "We are still standing. We may bleed, but we refuse to break. Prepare your weapons, man your stations. We fight for Earth, and we will have our answer." A cheer erupted, soft but defiant. The first scream didn't come from a human throat. It came from the sky. Sergeant Laura Stevens ducked under the shattered frame of a skybridge as a Venaca skiff roared past, trailing streaks of blue flame. It banked left and unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts into downtown Seattle, reducing 2 floors of a high-rise to molten steel. Screams followed. Those were human. "Squad Alpha, regroup on 5th and Pine." She barked into her helmet mic, boots slamming against cracked pavement. "We've got civilians trapped in a collapse zone. Full extraction priority." Chunks of concrete rained down as another structure gave way. Laura spotted Private Johnny Marsh, barely 20, trying to lift a steel beam off a trapped woman. "Reinforce left flank," she shouted, sprinting across a downed skycar. She pulled out her powered breaching lever and jammed it under the debris. With a groan of strained metal, the beam lifted. "Just enough." "Get her out!" Johnny nodded, hands shaking as he dragged the injured woman clear. Blood soaked the pavement. The air was acrid with smoke and the chemical stink of alien ordnance. They'd hit hard, harder than anyone expected. "Status report," Laura demanded over comms. Corporal Nate Carter responded through static, voice tight. "We lost the north barricade. Vanakar ground units, those 6-limbed acid bastards, poured through the breach. We're falling back toward the Pike bunker line." "Copy," she snapped. "Alpha's rerouting. Hold them off as long as you can." The city was unrecognizable. The monorail lay twisted like a dead serpent. Fires burned unchecked through blocks once full of coffee shops and tourists. The skies swarmed with skiffs and dart fighters, all manoeuvring with eerie silence between every strike. Earth's response had been fierce but slow, and on the ground, the Vanakar were proving vicious. Laura led her unit down into the Pike corridor, a pre-dug defensive trench line left over from the last training exercise. Sandbags, turrets, makeshift mortars. It had been a simulation ground. Now it was a war zone. Carter was there, crouched behind a wrecked supply truck, swapping out a burnt power core from a shoulder cannon. "They're close," he said, handing her a set of drone scans. Infrared shows thermal signatures moving fast, small squads, high agility, scouting patterns. "They're hunting," Laura said grimly. She turned to the others. "Set up crossfire positions. Secure rear exit through the fish market loading tunnels. Booby trap every second step." They moved fast, veterans and rookies, shoulder to shoulder. She watched Angela Meyer, one of the newer medics, set up her triage kit with shaking hands. Laura knelt beside her. "You're going to do fine," she said, meeting the girl's eyes. "You're not alone." Angela nodded, forcing herself to breathe. Then the plasma hit. The first blast tore a hole in the barricade. The second incinerated Private Walters mid-shout. Then the shrieking started. Vanakar infantry rushed the trench, black chitin, glowing spines, fluid motion like serpents on two legs. They fired from bladed weapons that doubled as plasma spears. Their screeches cut through the comms. "Open fire!" Laura screamed, unloading her rail rifle. The trench lit up in a wash of muzzle flashes and plasma bursts. Two Vanakar went down instantly, heads caved by turret rounds. Another leaped the barricade, straight into Carter's shotgun burst. Acid sprayed from its wound, eating through concrete and boots alike. "Fall back to position 2, Laura ordered. "Angela, get the wounded out, now!" They staggered into the second line of defense, laying suppressive fire. The Pike tunnel echoed with screams, shouts, static. One of the Vanakar shrieked and exploded, targeted by a short-range drone with a thermite payload. "Nice shot, Marsh," Laura barked. He grinned, then got tackled from the side, dragged into the shadows. "No!" She charged, knife drawn, following the trail of blood. The creature had pinned him, claws through his thigh. Laura didn't hesitate. She plunged the blade into its neck, twisted, and kicked it off. Johnny wheezed. You always this dramatic?" "Shut up and stay conscious." She slung him over her shoulder and moved. By hour 5, they'd lost 2 more. Carter was limping. Angela had burns across her side but kept working. The Pike Market entrance was in ruins, but they'd held it. Barely. Laura stood by the collapsed doorway, hands on her knees, catching her breath. From above, distant thunder rolled, not weather. Weapons fire. She looked up. Skiffs retreated across the sky, some on fire, some fleeing. Then came the broadcast. "To all remaining Seattle units, this is Commander Jack Harris aboard the rearmed Providence II. We're coordinating orbital strikes on Vanakar supply ships. Ground teams, prepare for synchronized pushback." Laura blinked. "Is that real?" Carter grinned. "Looks like someone upstairs got their act together." She nodded slowly, then lifted her rifle. "All right," she said. "They cracked our city, but not our spirit." She keyed her comm. "To all Seattle teams, this is Sergeant Laura Stevens. The sky is still ours. Let's remind them who Earth belongs to." They cheered, bloody and tired, but not broken. Dr. Marie Turner sat in a darkened lab 2 miles beneath NORAD, surrounded by blinking servers and low-humming walls of AI-assisted diagnostics. The war above raged with the fury of gods, but down here there was only silence, tension, and the growing sense that the next 20 minutes could decide the survival of Earth itself. A soft chime rang from her terminal. The simulation had completed. "Run results," she whispered. The holoscreen flickered, numbers cascading like a waterfall. 12 potential virus sequences. 8 failures. 3 unstable. 1 viable. Project Drop Needle had a match. Marie leaned back, heart hammering. The strain of the last 72 hours, the sleepless coding marathons, the rewrites under orbital bombardment, it had come to this. She keyed in her secure link. A moment later, General Horace King appeared on the screen, sweat on his brow, orbital cannon fire glowing red in the background of his command carrier. "You've got 60 seconds, Doctor." "I've got it," she said flatly. "A counter-viral AI that can piggyback their Hive link. Once injected, it disrupts swarm protocols and causes recursive logic failure. Essentially, they start turning on each other. King blinked. "You're telling me you've written a kill command for their entire fleet?" Marie swallowed. "I'm telling you I've written a smart infection that mimics the way their ships coordinate. It won't just stop them, it'll break them." King nodded. "Deployment method?" "That's the catch. It has to be physically implanted in a relay vessel. One of theirs." The general cursed. "That's a suicide run." Marie didn't flinch. "That's the only kind we have left." He rubbed his eyes. "We've got orbital readings placing one of their command hives near the remains of the International Space Ring. You can get a team that close?" "I won't be going," Marie said, "but I know someone who will." 6 hours later, aboard the Providence II, Commander Jack Harris stared at the holotable as Marie outlined the plan. He was exhausted, eyes sunken and left arm still bandaged from the skirmish 2 days prior, but his mind was razor-sharp. "You want me to fly a ship into a Vanakar hive and plug in your alien-breaking thumb drive?" Marie's lips twitched. "Roughly, yes." Jack looked around at his officers, Lieutenant Chen, Carlos and his weapons chief, all as battered as he was. "Well," he muttered, "it's been at least 12 hours since we tried something suicidal. Might as well make it spectacular." Marie passed over the drive, a black capsule no larger than a cigarette. "Once this is in their relay core," she said, "it'll do the rest." "Will it kill them?" "Not directly," she said, "but it'll take their eyes, ears and nerves away. Their ships will fall out of coordination. Drones will malfunction. Their weapons may fire, but not where they mean to." Rix grunted. "Chaos in the enemy ranks, that's our native environment." Chen frowned. "How do we get past the Hive's shielding? Their gravlens fields collapse everything within 200 meters. "We found a gap," Marie replied, pulling up a rotating 3D scan. "Each time they recharge their plasma capacitors, there's a 5-second thermal bleed-off. That's our insertion window." 5 seconds, Jack repeated. "We've stolen time before." The mission codename was Black Echo. At 03 Zulu, Jack boarded a stripped-down stealth skiff with only 2 crew, Lieutenant Grace Chen at the helm and Private Lee Harlan, a demolitions expert who'd volunteered before even hearing the plan. The ship, bare bones, barely armoured and running cold, launched from the Providence II under complete silence. Jack watched Earth fall behind as they rose through clouds of smoke and debris. Above them, the alien Hive ship pulsed with a malignant blue glow, organic-looking metal covered in tendrils, like the corpse of a god reanimated for war. "Final approach in 20 seconds, Chen called out. Grav lens surging. "Hold course," Jack said, gripping the capsule tight. "Activate EM shroud at my mark." They shot forward as the field blinked, an instant of vulnerability. "Now!" Chen hit the override. The ship's electronics screamed. Jack braced. They punched through the gravity field like a stone through oil. Inside the Hive, it was quiet. Too quiet. The Vanakar didn't build ships, they grew them. The walls pulsed. The lights weren't bulbs, they were organs. Steam hissed from unseen vents. The entire corridor vibrated with soundless energy. They moved fast. Harlan planted microcharges at every intersection, just in case. They reached the relay core, a spherical chamber with a cluster of floating crystal nodes surrounded by tendrils and coils. "This is it," Marie's voice crackled in Jack's ear. "Insert the capsule into the central node. Don't wait for confirmation. The AI will run automatically." Jack stepped forward, breath shallow. Behind him, something moved. "Hurry," Harlan whispered. Jack reached the core. The capsule clicked into place. Then the lights changed. The entire room pulsed red. "They know," Chen said. Jack turned. The first Vanakar in the Hive rounded the corridor, black armor, elongated limbs, and plasma forming on their blades. "Time to go," Jack said. Harlan grinned and triggered 2 charges. The room shook. They ran. Down corridors now shuddering with overload, alarms blaring in a frequency meant to scramble the human brain, they moved like ghosts. They reached the ship just as the Hive started to ripple. AI interference had begun. Outside the viewport, drone formations spun in disarray. Vanaka ships stopped turning as one. "They're losing sync," Chen shouted. The ship roared into space, flanked by chaos. Jack keyed his comm. "To Providence, payload delivered. Start your engines. It's time to go hunting." Commander Jack Harris hated flying blind, but as the Vanguard spear plunged toward the Vanakar Hive vessel like a spear into the heart of a dying god, the only thing sharper than the ship's prow was the sense of commitment in his gut. No turning back. Not this time. "All systems green," called Lieutenant Grace Chen from the pilot's chair. "ETA, 90 seconds. Stealth coatings holding." Jack stood at the front of the narrow forward bay encased in matte black exo-armor. Beside him were 8 others, hand-picked from Earth's last orbital strike unit. Soldiers from across the planet, each of them with dead family, leveled cities and nothing left to lose. Sergeant Nate Booker, a stocky man with a gravel voice and a 1970s mop of hair, locked and loaded a tri-barrel scattergun. "Hope these bastards choke on us." "They will," Jack said. "If we don't make it back, someone else will. But this virus ends here." The lights shifted red. The ship's automated voice counted down. Through the front viewport, the Hive ship loomed, massive, alien, and alive. It resembled a planet-sized sea creature from some long-forgotten nightmare, plates of bony armor layered over luminescent sinew, tendrils twitching like the feelers of an insect. Dozens of Vanakar drones buzzed around it, confused, disorganized. The virus Jack had implanted was beginning to do its work, but not fast enough. "Remember," Jack said to his team, "our target is the neurocore. Take it out, and their command structure shatters." Chen nodded, deploying javelins now. From the spear's belly, 12 harpoons launched, piercing the Hive's outer shell with seismic force, cables anchored deep. The hull buckled and screamed. 5 seconds. Jack hit the release. The side doors exploded outward and the team launched. 0G insertion. No sound. Only the dull thump of boots hitting alien plating as they slammed down on the Hive surface and magnetized their grips. "Breaching drill in place," said Private Lisa Monroe, her blonde braid tucked under a helmet. "Plasma bore engaging." A circle of bone-blackened hull hissed and began to melt. Inside, movement. "We've got crawlers," Booker shouted, firing upward. Insectile defenders spilled out, Vanakar drone beasts with lashing limbs and whirring mouthparts. One slammed into Private Dean Walker, slamming his head against the hull. Dean screamed, rifle spinning off into vacuum. Jack surged forward, drawing twin magnet blades. He carved into the crawler's spine, splitting it with surgical precision. "Walker, status?" "I'm alive, barely." "Then move." The breach hissed open. The air inside was thick, humid, and stank of ammonia and static. They dropped in. Inside the Hive, gravity returned, uneven, pulsing. The floor squished under their boots, a biometal membrane laced with twitching nerves. The walls breathed, the lights dimmed, flickered, flared. "Stay tight," Jack ordered. "Formation Delta. Ricks, pulse mapping." Specialist Alan Ricks, their tech officer, lifted a puck-sized scanner and lobbed it forward. It floated mid-air, pulsing blue rings. "Mapping now," he muttered. "Jesus, this thing's bigger than we thought." The layout emerged. Hundreds of meters of organic corridors spiraling inward toward a central core shaped like a neuron cluster. "That's our target," Jack said. "Let's carve a path." They moved fast. Crawlers emerged in waves, responding erratically, some too slow, others berserk. The virus was clearly disrupting control, but hadn't disabled everything. Booker fired a grav cannon round down one corridor, collapsing a wall and half a dozen enemies with it. Monroe lobbed a plasma gel grenade that stuck to the ceiling and detonated in silent white fury, dissolving limbs and armor alike. Jack moved like a ghost, his magnet blades slashing in arcs. He ducked a plasma spear, drove a knife into a creature's throat, and kicked it down a shaft. "Vitals?" he asked Ricks. "Minor injuries. Walker's got a cracked visor, but holding." "Push forward." They reached the central nexus 40 minutes later, sweat-soaked, blood-streaked, and battered. The room was a sphere of glowing nerve strands, coiled tendrils, and a pulsating brain-like cluster hanging mid-air. The neurocore. "It's linked directly to their fleet," Chen said, pulling a cord from her exosuit. "One burst of this virus through the stem and it'll cascade to every vessel still linked." Jack nodded. "Do it." As she stepped forward, alarms screamed. The ceiling split open, and it dropped. A Vanakar high-caste warrior, 12 feet tall, encased in bone armor, with twin plasma axes. "The Neuro Warden!" "Scatter!" Jack shouted. The room erupted in chaos. The Warden moved like death, axes spinning with blinding light. It cleaved through Private Ramos, severing him mid-chest. Monroe screamed and fired both pistols into its flank. It shrugged off the rounds. Jack charged, leaping high, landing on its shoulders. He drove his blades into its neck. It roared, but not from pain, from rage. It grabbed Jack and hurled him across the chamber like a toy. He slammed into the wall, dazed. Chen stepped forward, virus cord in hand, just as the warden turned. "Now!" Jack screamed. She dove. The warden's axe fell. Too slow. The cord connected. The virus deployed. The warden froze, then spasmed violently. Sparks burst from its armor. It twitched once and collapsed. The room dimmed. Outside, they could see it through the now flickering walls. Alien ships spiraling, crashing into each other, disintegrating mid-air. Total collapse of formation. "It's working," Chen whispered. Jack stood, every bone screaming. "Then we finished the job." He lobbed a seismic charge into the core. As they fled, the Hive began to shake. They launched from the exit shaft moments before it exploded. Behind them, the Vanakar flagship ruptured, engulfed in flame and smoke, drifting dead in orbit. On board Providence 2, cheers erupted. "Sir," Rix grinned, blood running from a head gash. "They're blind. Every ship, every drone." Jack leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. "Tell command." He looked at Earth, scarred, battered, still shining. "Tell them we gave it back." The alien fleet didn't die with a scream, it died with a stutter. One moment, the Vanakar were cutting swaths through Earth's orbital defenses, skiffs in flawless formation, dreadnoughts moving with Hive-coordinated grace. The next moment they weren't. Ships stalled mid-turn. Plasma beams fired into vacuum. A command cruiser collided with one of its own escort wings, shearing both vessels apart in a blossom of purple flame. In NORAD's central command room, Dr. Marie Turner watched the feed unfold with dry eyes and trembling hands. "It's working," she murmured. General Horace King stood beside her, arms crossed, disbelief still lingering in the lines of his jaw. "We just turned their Hive link into a noose." On the main screen, live feeds poured in. Vanakar ships drifting dead over the Pacific, drones spinning and crashing into each other in lunar orbit, an entire assault wave breaking into 3 different flight patterns and then self-destructing. "They're not just confused," Marie added. "They're infected. Their own logic trees are fighting each other." King turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through to all Earth units, full spectrum." The man nodded. The general stepped forward. "This is General King," he said, voice firm. "The Vanakar fleet is breaking. All units, counter-offensive is active. Clear your skies." Across the globe, resistance forces answered. In what remained of Seattle, Sergeant Laura Stevens ducked behind a collapsed fire truck, her railgun scorched and cracked but still functioning. Above, Vanakar drones spun wildly in the air, firing into nothing, spiraling down like broken fireflies. "Holy hell," said Corporal Angela Meyer, crouched nearby with a singed medic pack. "They're falling apart." Laura looked toward the sky and saw the shape of the enemy dreadnought slowly drifting downward, smoke pouring from its tail. She tapped her comms. "Stevens to all Seattle survivors. Push forward. Take back the grid line." Explosions answered her. From every bunker and ruin, humans surged, tired, wounded, starved, but angry. Armed with whatever remained, pulse rifles, flame units, captured Vanakar spears, they struck with ferocity. One drone swooped low, spinning out of control. Angela leapt onto its back and drove her blade between its plates. It screeched and died. Laura smiled. They were winning. Above Earth, aboard the Providence 2, Commander Jack Harris stood amid the ruined bridge, eyes fixed on the starfield outside. "Enemy formations at 30% and falling," said Lieutenant Grace Chen, one arm in a sling. "Most of their weapon systems are looping into self-check protocols. They're choking on the virus." Jack nodded. "Prep Missile Bay 4. Target that cruiser at Vector 8.6. Chen hesitated. "Sir, they're disabled." Jack's voice was flat. "They're still in orbit." She keyed the strike. Moments later, the human-made warhead struck the heart of the alien cruiser. It ruptured like a dropped mirror, sending shards of its hull into the atmosphere in silent, righteous fury. Jack turned to his crew. "All remaining Vanakar targets in range. Crush them." The crew obeyed. For 30 minutes, Providence 2 launched the war Earth had been holding back. Rail batteries fired in sequence. Drone swarms circled disoriented enemies and tore them apart. The black void of orbit became a graveyard, metal, fire, bone. In New Delhi, survivors burst from underground bunkers with makeshift weapons. In São Paulo, human resistance hijacked a Vanakar skiff and turned it against the command ship trying to flee. In Kenya, mounted drones carried hand-coded virus payloads and crashed into alien relays with the precision of guided rage. Every continent lit up. Every city bled vengeance. Marie watched it all from NORAD, eyes finally wet. "We just pulled off the impossible," she whispered. King didn't speak. He simply nodded, then turned to his staff. "Get me the commander on Lunar Base," he said. "We've still got one more card to play." Back on the Providence 2, Jack received the call. "Jack," King said, voice crackling through interference, "we're launching the lunar grid." Jack raised a brow. "You're serious?" "You've bought us a window. If we strike now, we can send a message the Vanaka can't ignore." Jack smiled for the first time in hours. "Then tell the moon to light the sky." On Lunar Base, massive hangar doors opened. The lunar defense grid, long dormant, powered up, rows of cold steel rods rail-launched to suborbital speeds, designed not to explode, but to impale. Hundreds of kinetic kill rods fired, no warheads, no warnings, just solid tungsten punching through whatever remained in orbit. One after another, they struck Vanakar hulls and split them open. Earth's sky turned to falling stars. At the end of it, silence. Not peace, but silence. The orbital scans showed only drifting wrecks. On the ground, Laura sat against a burnt wall, helmet off, eyes half-lidded. "We won?" Angela asked beside her. Laura didn't answer at first. Then she smiled, bloody, exhausted, broken. "Damn right we did." The first impact didn't come with sound, but with seismic warning. On Lunar Base's operations deck, Commander Jack Harris stood rigid as the walls trembled and the moon's dust-rich crust rumbled from a kinetic strike. "They're launching their last swarm," said Lieutenant Grace Chen, back in armor, bandaged but steady. 17 vessels made it through the virus degradation. "They're burning everything to take us out." Jack nodded. "Then we burn back." He turned to Captain Roland Blake, Chief of Lunar Defense, a broad-shouldered man with a thick 70s-style mustache and the attitude to match. "Grid status?" "Charged and aligned," Blake said. "The orbital rods are depleted, but we've got 6 hypersonic rail cannons online. Shields are stable, and the surface mortars are hot." Jack looked to the holomap. The Vanakar remnants weren't organized, but they were angry. The virus hadn't killed them all. Some of the larger battle crabs had apparently self-severed from Hive logic, rogue, autonomous, and berserker-level hostile. They were coming straight for Lunar Base. "ETA?" Jack asked. Chen checked. 11 minutes. We need every second." The launch bay was a blur of motion, troops strapping into exo-rigs, engineers arming kinetic rods, drone teams prepping interceptor swarms. Sergeant Laura Stevens, bloodied, limping, but upright, arrived via emergency transport from Earth just an hour earlier. Her team, half dead, followed without complaint. "I heard the moon needed monsters," she said, greeting Jack with a nod. Jack smirked. "It's all hands now. You still owe me a drink. Survive this and I'll buy the damn bar." Above the base, Earth glowed blue, scarred, shining, and behind it came the Vanakar. The first 3 skiffs hit the outer dome like knives through tissue. Explosive decompression tore open defense sectors B and C. Troopers were sucked into vacuum before shields recalibrated. Jack's comm exploded with overlapping voices. "Hull breach on Vector 3. We've got drones in Maintenance Hall Alpha. I need evac from Silo 7 now." He stormed to the defense wall. Through reinforced windows he saw the enemy. The Vanakar had deployed Void Hounds, sleek, black-armored beasts that ran across vacuum and tore into the dome's shield lines. Behind them, 4 capital dread forms lumbered forward, crab-like limbs punching into the regolith. "Chen," Jack ordered, "activate lunar rail cannons 1 through 3. Fire for effect." The ground shook. The cannons lit up, throwing tungsten spears into the sky. One pierced a skiff straight through, splitting it like a fruit. Another slammed into a capital beast's shoulder, slowing it, but not stopping it. Jack gritted his teeth. "Deploy mobile units. We're going out there." On the surface of the moon, human soldiers ran toward the impossible. In vacuum, there was no scream, only breath, tension, and thunder felt in bone. Laura's boots hit the dust with a kick of momentum. Her armor's HUD tracked hostiles in every direction. Private Johnny Marsh, still limping from Seattle, ran beside her. "Ever think we'd be fighting space bugs on the damn moon?" "Shut up and shoot, Johnny." Their rifles tore through Vanakar drones mid-pounce. The lunar sky lit up with weapons fire and atmospheric flashes. From a ridge above, the lead dreadform loomed 3 stories tall, its upper carapace cracked from previous orbital burns. It charged, limbs whirring. "We need heavy ordnance," Laura shouted. Jack answered. From orbit, Providence 2 dropped its last payload, a tungsten-tipped penetrator rod, AI-guided, pure mass and velocity. It struck the dreadform's back. The thing exploded in silence, only dust and bone. Inside Lunar Base, the walls buckled. 2 drones made it into the control deck. One pounced onto Chen, knocking her across the room. The other lunged for Jack. He fired his sidearm point blank, melting its core. Chen stood, bleeding. "Still here." "Good." Alarms blared, then quieted. Blake looked at his screen. All targets accounted for. Outside, the battlefield was still. Laura stood, breathing hard, visor cracked, staring at the ruin of the last Vanakar warbeast. "It's done," she whispered. But inside the base, another alarm triggered. Marie Turner appeared on a flickering holoscreen. "Commander, we have a signal." Jack blinked. "A distress beacon?" She shook her head. "A message from the Vanakar." The alien fleet was gone. What remained of the Vanakar hung above Earth in twisted fragments, glowing softly against the black void like the burnt wings of dead angels. But even in ruin, they spoke. At NORAD, Dr. Marie Turner stared at the decoding feed from the alien signal. "It's not a distress call," she said softly. General Horace King stepped forward. "Then what is it?" Marie adjusted the holographic interface. "It's a broadcast, a post-mortem. The Vanakar had no concept of surrender. This is the closest thing to their last will." King nodded. "Play it." The room went still. A voice, cold, multitonal and echoing, emerged from the speakers, translated by Earth's AI interpreters. "This is the Vanakar. What you destroyed was not our army. It was our question, our test, our study of the fire in your kind. You are not the apex, you are the anomaly. We do not understand your defiance, your rage, your willingness to burn your own sky to defeat us. We watched a dying world summon storms from its bones. We watched your dead rise in code, in plasma, in steel. We have seen enough. There are others. They will see you too." Then silence. A silence deeper than war. On board the Providence 2, Commander Jack Harris closed the feed and turned toward his officers. Lieutenant Grace Chen leaned on the console, her wounded arm wrapped in synth mesh. "So that's it? They're done?" Jack shook his head. "Not, just watching." From orbit, Earth glowed, still wounded, cities darkened, oceans stained, but alive. Below, the world had already begun to rebuild. Fires extinguished, communications restored, resistance units becoming defense networks, civilian shelters opening. "We made them bleed," said Alan Riksch, joining them. "And now they're taking notes?" Jack nodded. "Then let them write it down in fear." He turned to his officers. "I want every base locked into a readiness cycle. Satellites patched, shield grids monitored. We may have won the war, but the galaxy just got a transmission." Chen raised an eyebrow. "What kind of message?" Jack looked out the viewport. "That Earth is not a target. It's a warning." In New York, survivors lifted steel beams and cleared debris, forming ad hoc teams from civilians and veterans alike. In Tokyo, a child climbed out of a ruined shelter and found a shattered Vanakar helmet. He kicked it away, laughing. In Johannesburg, a local broadcaster went back on air. No commercials, no sponsors, just a voice. "We survived, and if they come again, we won't just endure, we'll remember." 3 months later, Lunar Base stood rebuilt. Jack walked the lunar ridge at dusk, Earth rising on the horizon like a blue promise. Next to him, Laura Stevens smoked a battered vapor stick. "Think they'll come back?" she asked. "Oh, they'll try." She grinned. "I hope they bring more." Jack looked to the stars. "We're done hiding," he said. "Next time we don't wait. Next time we bring the war to them." In a quiet chamber on Earth, Marie watched the last line of the Vanakar code scroll across the screen. "You are the chaos that survived extinction." She sat back, eyes hollow, and whispered to no one, "Yes, and we always will." If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and comment. It helps us reach more sci-fi fans like you. And if you love tales where humans shake the galaxy, subscribe to Beyond the Nebula for weekly uploads. Original story by Beyond the Nebula, AI-assisted, human-created. Narrated by Beyond the Nebula. New episodes every week.